tree smacked my windows. I had my kids, all three of them crying, screaming to me, what's happening? And it was pretty intense.
Severe weather causing mass destruction in communities across the western U.S. This week's weather bringing rain, snow, and massive waves, even tornadoes to states west of the Mississippi. Good evening. Welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Christian Kaftan. A Texas-sized tornado touched down on a neighborhood in Houston yesterday, damaging homes, knocking out trees and power, and closing numerous roads. Fox 26's Shelby Rose shows us the cleanup efforts now underway.
The tornado that touched down here on Plum Brook Drive in southwest Houston, it was small and brief. We're only seeing about 3 or so homes that sustained any sort of damage yesterday, but damage regardless. Behind me, that home definitely taking the bulk of it. This tarp was put on earlier this morning, but there are paneling from that garage that was ripped off. There are parts of the roof that are gone, and there are bricks just scattered all across the driveway. It really does seem like this tornado touched down right on top of this home and went away, considering the houses on either side of it, they're untouched. Not even a single shingle on the roof is gone. But of course, this isn't the only damage that we're seeing across our area. Over in Horton County, 3 tornadoes touched down there. You can see them through multiple videos we've obtained, one making its way through a farm on County Road 405. Aside from the damage it left behind, the owner does tell us, thankfully, no cattle were harmed. We also spoke with a man who saw a tornado in El Campo firsthand. He was outside working on a forklift when it touched down.
All of a sudden the roof gets sucked off of the forklift, the notification goes off on my phone. I'm like, okay, wow, there's a tornado coming.
Have you ever seen a tornado in life forming like that?
No, not actually in person. It does make you feel kind of small though, you know. That's kind of a big deal just to be that close to something that powerful.
The good news, though, is that regardless of how many tornadoes we had in our area yesterday, there was not one single report of an injury. Reporting in Southwest Houston, Shelby Rose, Fox 26 News.
High surf continues to threaten communities in California. Taking a live look right now at the Santa Monica Pier, the National Weather Service in Los Angeles says swells will bring high surf to the region's beaches through this weekend and into early next week. Officials say people should remember to use caution in and near the water and, of course, never turn your back on the ocean. One of the cities that's been most damaged this week is Santa Cruz, California. Today, officials there gave an update on the city's damaged wharf and the process to repair it. Officials say the wharf will not reopen until the city is sure it is safe to do so, and it's not clear whether the collapsed section of the wharf can or should be rebuilt. Powerful waves on Monday knocked a 150-foot section of the wharf into the ocean. 3 engineers were on that section of the wharf doing inspections when it fell. Those 3 were rescued but had minor injuries. City officials report the wharf was hit by the largest swell they've recorded at that spot in 30 years.
That combined with the end of the wharf being under construction and really damaged and weakened from previous year's storms, that was really the vulnerable point. So what we've seen is the remainder of the wharf. We generally feel very confident that it's strong and stable.
The city says that it is also working with community groups to support all the businesses located on the wharf and about 400 employees who work there because the entire wharf will remain closed with no estimated time to reopen. Well, it's now been more than a month since a bomb cyclone swept through western Washington. We're hearing now from Issaquah Mayor Mary Lou Pauley. Issaquah's Miramont neighborhood saw the most damage. The mayor there talking about her thoughts on federal assistance.
Been spending a lot of time learning about what the state could do and what the federal government and FEMA can do. I know FEMA's coming in January. They're going to do an assessment. Usually for FEMA to be in response mode with you, covering costs, the area and the number of structures that are damaged has to be much, much higher. So I'm glad they're coming to do an assessment. I'm not optimistic that something will come from that assessment.
Mayor Pauley went on to say that the city is still looking into state assistance, along with future help from state lawmakers with the new legislative session right around the corner. The storm overnight brought a full foot of snow to the area around Lake Tahoe, California. Folks at the Palisades Ski Report say they got 12 inches of wet Sierra cement type snow at their upper mountain. They shared some video from earlier today. The Sierra Central Snow Lab is reporting that the Tahoe region is currently at nearly 150% of the median snowfall for this time of year. Caltrans is reminding drivers that they expect to post chain requirements at various times on Interstate 80 and Highway 50. Some drivers, though, told us they weren't prepared.
I got a little freaked out, so I called my parents, and so they were like, just pull over, see what you guys can do. And so, like I said, we just stopped over, and they were kind enough to help.
We got stuck in the snow, and we couldn't put on these chains, and he helped us put this on. I don't think we could have pulled this off.
California Highway Patrol is urging drivers to check the latest road conditions while driving in the Sierra this weekend. On to Arizona now. Crews there continue to battle the Horton Fire burning in the northern part of the state. 150 workers are putting out hot spots and holding the fire lines north of Highway 260. At last check, that fire 17% contained. 928 acres have burned so far northeast of Payson. Tonto National Forest Rangers say the remote and rugged area is making it difficult to contain those fire lines. Several communities remain on set evacuation status, meaning a significant threat to the area, and residents have been urged to be packed and ready to leave. Among those communities on set evacuation status, the Tonto Creek Estates, Tonto Christian Camp, Tonto Fish Hatchery, and Zane Gray Cabins. This fire is believed to have been human-caused. The public is being asked to avoid the fire area. The historic Morrison Hotel in downtown Los Angeles has been destroyed. A fire broke out yesterday afternoon on the top floor of the building, spreading to the rest of the structure. While the hotel has been vacant for years, it was made famous by the 70s band The Doors. The AIDS Healthcare Foundation bought the building last year with plans to convert it into affordable housing. However, workers said they were having trouble keeping squatters out.
Fire department, we say there are no vacant buildings in Los Angeles. A lot of the large unhoused community that uses these vacant buildings as their temporary residence, and several dozen were seen self-evacuating at the time of the fire.
Authorities say no one was injured, but fire crews did have to rescue a few people who were inside when they arrived. On to Utah. The Vernal Field Office of the Bureau of Land Management is asking for the public's help in finding the climbers who allegedly damaged an ancient petroglyph panel in Uintah County. Deputies say climbing bolts were discovered back in November on the pregnant sheep petroglyph panel. The rock art panel was made anywhere between hundreds to thousands of years ago. Anyone with information on this vandalism is being asked to call the Bureau of Land Management. President-elect Trump's choice for border czar is revealing aspects of his mass deportation plans. Tom Homan says the deportations will be carried out in a, quote, humane way and will not involve sweeps through neighborhoods. Instead, he says they will focus on immigrants with criminal records. Homan tells the Washington Post the administration will build family facilities for illegal immigrants, but says the government will not hesitate to deport parents that are in the country illegally, even if they have young children born in the U.S. He says it would be a family's choice on whether to split up or whether to leave the U.S. together.
Shut the border down. We're going to have the largest deportation operation this country's ever seen. It's going to be expensive in the beginning, but in the long run, it's going to save billions of dollars of taxpayers' money.
Current projections show that at least 100,000 beds would be needed for detention, with Holman saying they'll need at least $86 billion. The Ada County Courthouse in Boise, Idaho is getting ready for international attention ahead of the capital murder trial of Brian Kohberger. He's accused of stabbing and killing 4 University of Idaho students. Fox 13's Shira Matsuzawa spoke with the deputy administrative judge at the courthouse about how they are preparing for the high-profile trial coming in August.
The judge tells me there's still a bit of a ways away from working out the day-to-day details, but the court has learned some important lessons from the high-profile murder trials of the so-called doomsday mom, Lori Vallow, and her husband, Chad Daybell, especially the all-important jury selection process.
November 13th, 2022, the day the world lost 4 bright lights. Madison Mogan, Ethan Chapin, Kaylee Gonzalez, and Xana Kernodle.
State versus Koberger.
2 years later, and several delays, the trial for Brian Koberger, the man accused of killing the 4 University of Idaho students, is scheduled to start this summer at the Ada County Courthouse in Boise.
Every time we've handled one of these types of large trials, obviously, you take away a number of things from it.
Deputy Administrative Judge James Cawthon says in his more than 20 years as a judge, he's seen about 8 or 9 trials of this magnitude. But 3 high-profile trials in 3 years?
Certainly, it's quick succession.
Regardless, Judge Cawthon says the focus is always the same.
To ensure that people's constitutional rights are protected and ensured.
And preparing for trials like Koberger's takes a certain choreography. The courthouse staff comes together like a sports team.
We constantly talk about these things, game plan these things, practice these things.
That includes security, which is always at the forefront. Judge Cawthon couldn't say much, but he could share this.
We will have a safe, secure place for everyone participating in this particular trial.
But what about the jury selection process, especially for a case that's garnered national and international attention?
You've got a case dealing with very emotional and serious issues. The crime itself that's alleged is quite serious, and the jury may be called upon to make certain decisions that are quite significant. And so you, in those instances, necessarily need a very significant panel.
The number of potential jurors summoned will be up to the presiding judge, Steve Hippler. For context, about 1,800 potential jurors were summoned for the Lori Vallow trial. Some 2,500 potential jurors were summoned for Chad Daybell's. At the time, Judge Hippler told me that was a record number to his knowledge.
I would say that's what I would call a good ballpark number.
As for the cameras in the courtroom during the trial, no decision has been made just yet. But Judge Cawthon says the courthouse is prepared either way.
The trial is scheduled to start on August 11th, with jury selection expected to start on July 30th. The trial is slated to run through November. In the newsroom, Shira Matsuzawa, Fox 13 News.
Wow, that's never heard of that before. What a breach of security.
A woman gets past security and on a plane without a boarding pass at the Seattle airport. How passengers are reacting to security as more people travel for the holidays. And firefighters came to one woman's rescue in Oregon. The dramatic video showing how crews saved her from a burning car.
We are just hours away from the last weekend of 2024, and it will feature rain showers. We'll tell you exactly when and where with your West Coast wrap forecast. It's coming up right after this fast Fox break.
In Portland, Oregon, a woman is expected to survive after being pulled from a burning car on Monday. Officers responding to a crash discovered that car engulfed in flames and jumped into action. After those flames were extinguished, officers successfully rescued the 47-year-old driver and performed CPR. That victim taken to an area hospital where she is expected to recover. Now to Seattle, where investigators are trying to figure out how a woman got on board a flight to Hawaii without a boarding pass. Police say she somehow got through TSA security and then spent the night in the airport and boarded a Delta flight to Hawaii on Christmas Eve. The airport says the woman was discovered on the plane before takeoff and removed from the flight.
In a day and age when they've tried to ramp up security, I mean, it's a pretty egregious example of falling short of the goal. We're going to Hawaii also. Oh, wow. But I have a boarding pass.
This comes just 2 days after a woman opened an emergency exit and climbed onto the wing of an Alaska Airlines plane shortly after arrival in Seattle from Milwaukee. Alaska says the matter was, quote, safely resolved. Several recent house cat deaths across the West Coast are raising concerns for pet owners about how to protect their animals from the ongoing outbreak of bird flu. A cat's death in Oregon was linked to frozen cat food, which contained raw turkey. And several cat deaths in Southern California have been linked to raw milk. Veterinarians say infections of bird flu in pets is rare, but even so, feeding animals raw meat or milk can be dangerous. They say, if possible, keep your cat indoors.
If we have an indoor-outdoor cat, the most likely exposure to our cat to this virus is going to be through wild animals. It's going to be through birds predominantly. Cats are not always happy with this, but if you train them early, you can actually put a harness on them and a lead so that you can keep a close eye on them. In other words, not letting them wander freely in the outdoors because you don't know what they're getting into.
Symptoms for bird flu in cats may include inflamed eyes, loss of appetite, or fever. If you think that your cat is sick, call your veterinary clinic and keep the cat away from anyone with a weakened immune system. Whooping cough is surging throughout the country, returning to pre-pandemic levels. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, more than 32,000 cases have been reported so far this year. That's about 6 times more cases than there were this time last year. Whooping cough can be serious for all ages, but children younger than 1 are particularly sensitive. The federal government says homelessness across the country is up 18% this year. The new numbers out today from the Department of Housing and Urban Development found more than 770,000 people nationwide were homeless in 2024. Advocacy groups believe that number is likely an undercount because many point-in-time counts miss people who are not living on the streets but don't have a permanent place to live. Federal officials blame the increase on soaring rents, devastating natural disasters, and a surge of migrants in several parts of the country. Well, as we've been telling you, we've been seeing a lot of intense weather across the West Coast right now. For more on those conditions, we're joined by KTVU meteorologist Roberta Gonzalez. Boy, some folks seeing rain, some folks seeing snow.
And a lot of fog and cloud cover too, Christian. Good evening to you. And hi, everybody. This is the scene looking out towards SFO along the peninsula in the San Francisco Bay Area. I was looking at the aviational tower here. It stands 221 feet tall. We can see it. It's not being obscured by the deck of clouds out there, even though those clouds have now lowered to 400 feet, about 15-minute delays on arrivals and departures. Meanwhile, not only around the San Francisco and San Mateo coast, which is roughly 10 miles from SFO, we have a high surf advisory in effect, but it extends all the way into the Los Angeles area as well as in San Diego. Now, this high surf advisory is allowed to expire on Sunday morning at 4 a.m. The advisory extends in the LA area as well as San Diego until Wednesday. And it's all generated by a series of storms that are stacked up out over the Pacific Ocean. You can see this latest one right there. It has provided about 1 inch of precipitation as far as rain is concerned in throughout the Seattle area today. And it trails all the way off into that northern portion of Northern California. It nicks the Eureka area. Seattle today with a high temperature of 53 degrees. Doesn't that just even look chilly and rainy there? Then we head to San Francisco, which saw nearly 7/10 of an inch of rain today alone, and that's pretty hefty for San Francisco. Oh, I just called this up just a couple of minutes ago. This is the Catalina Casino. It's roughly about 47 miles just off the Los Angeles coastline. You could take a ferry ride there. It's only about an hour ferry ride. 61 degrees in Los Angeles. It was 56 degrees in Catalina. Avalon. Isn't that gorgeous? Meanwhile, we head to Phoenix. The average high 65 today, topped off at 69 degrees. So here's the deal. Tomorrow, plenty of rain showers from Seattle through Portland into Medford, all the way into Northern California. In fact, this is only going to provide a few sprinkles for San Francisco, nothing for the Los Angeles area. Lots of snow around the Cascades and Siskiyou mountain areas. Then by Sunday morning, this shifts on over to the San Francisco area with about a ½ inch to 1 inch more precipitation. Does not make it quite into the Los Angeles basin. Another couple inches of rain around that northwestern quadrant of the state of California. The soil is saturated. So here's the deal. Here's the forecast for the last weekend of 2024. It'll be dry in Phoenix. Looks good in Denver, albeit cool, and no rain for Southern California. Enjoy your weekend.
Roberta, thank you. The Mega Millions jackpot has ballooned to more than $1 billion. The excitement building up to tonight's big drawing. Plus,
to jazz it up a little bit, add a little sizzle to the steak, and so we think people will really enjoy what we've come up with this year.
So much pageantry accompanies college football bowl games. Why organizers of this year's Fiesta Bowl parade say this one's going to be one for the books. Tonight's Mega Millions drawing is worth $1.22 billion. The massive jackpot causing a frenzy at one liquor store in Southern California. The Bluebird liquor store has sold multiple winning Mega Millions and Powerball tickets. Lottery fans there lining up to buy tickets yesterday and today. The drawing for the winning numbers, that comes up tonight at 8. Several college football bowl games are hosting parades even before the games start. The Fiesta Bowl is holding its 53rd annual parade tomorrow through downtown Phoenix. Fox 10's Dominique Newland shows us what parade goers can expect at this family-friendly event.
All aboard the Fiesta Bowl train. The 52nd annual Verbo Fiesta Bowl parade by Lerner and Rowe is marching through town tomorrow morning with a jam-packed lineup.
Balloons, animals, baby horses, big horses, hot rods, dancing grandmas, bands, really awesome bands, including Boise State bringing their full band here.
The 2-mile parade is free to the public with 3,000 participants and custom-designed floats, true to Arizona culture.
We decided last year to employ a group out of New Orleans that does Mardi Gras floats and does floats for all parades all over the country. We wanted to jazz it up a little bit, add a little sizzle to the steak. So we think people will really enjoy what we've come up with this year, and we're going to make it bigger and better each year.
This year's parade theme is a new era, representing the parade's new elements in the evolving college football playoff culture. Arizona's very own and ASU alum Anthony Robles serving as Grand Marshal.
Fiesta Bowl really is something that was born here in Arizona. So what makes it special is that this is part of our community, right? It is who we are. And it was meant to help bring more attention to our state, our athletic prowess, and really bring people here to show them how amazing Arizona is.
It's recommended to arrive early to get a good spot. The parade kicks off at 10 a.m. on Central and Montebello Avenues. For Fox 10 News, I'm Dominique Newland.
Well, tens of thousands of people are heading to Southern California to ring in the new year with the 2025 Rose Parade. And the final preparations are now underway for those colorful, flower-covered floats. This is the 136th year of the annual New Year's Day event in Pasadena, California. The theme this year, Best Day Ever. And each float has been created to send a message of happiness and human kindness.
Wanted to capture with our float is what does best day ever mean for our program, Kindness is Free. So the best day ever is when people are being kind to each other and others are inspired by that kindness to be kind to others.
Tennis legend Billie Jean King will serve as this year's Grand Marshal for the parade on the morning of New Year's Day. And thank you so much for joining us tonight. You can stay up to date on all of the stories we're covering online. Just go to westcoastwrap.com and stream all of our shows on your smart TV by downloading the Fox Local app. Have a wonderful evening as we go towards 2025.